Alright, let's get started on a little bit more on CSS syntax. We are now working on full-fledged coding, and before I begin into the hardcore programming part of this course, I would like to explain you a few basics on how the syntax works. Okay, the syntax of CSS, as we mentioned before, is very similar to HTML. Okay, there are some differences. But they're not many, like the curly brackets and the use of the way the selectors and properties and all of these things are associated with each other. Okay, no need to get confused, but they're very similar. What I'm trying to say is that CSS syntax consists of a set of rules. Okay, we need to follow the rules. What are the CSS rules? Okay, these rules have three parts. You have a selector, you have a property, and you have a value. All right, these are the three main things associated with CSS. Okay, I'm going to highlight each in a different color so that whenever I write down code, I'm going to color code it, which is why I'm using the word program. I'm not using the notepad, so that I can explain this basic concept better. What would happen is, like, if you get the CSS syntax rule correct, you will be able to generate your own code. You will be able to put together a selector, property, and value and generate your own style, and that's a very powerful knowledge to have. Okay, and you are only able to do that once you get the logic behind the CSS syntax correctly. Okay, let's get started on this. You don't need to remember this. You don't need to remember individual code. Once you start coding CSS, you'll do without thinking that this is a selector, that's a property. This should begin to make sense once you study the examples. Okay, so once we practice more examples, you should be able to understand easily. The basic syntax for CSS goes something like this. Let me go back to my black ink, and it goes something like this: selector, okay, curly bracket open, property, value, curly bracket close. Okay, that's basically what it looks like. The selector will define the property, and inside the property you will define the value. Very simple. Okay, nothing to get worried about. This is how the basic syntax looks like. For example, okay, the selector h1, okay, curly bracket open, color blue. Okay, notice that I'm doing this deliberately, very slowly, so that you understand this basic syntax going on here. Once you understand it, as I mentioned, you will be able to play with the code as you wish. Okay, so this was green in color, and this is the value, which is blue. Okay, follow this wherever you can. You can also group selectors together. Okay, for example, you could say h1 comma h2 comma h3 comma h4 comma h5 comma h6. We have 6 headings. Remember, we did that in HTML. Curly bracket open, color blue, curly bracket close. What does that mean? Please don't worry about the auto correction here. Just focus on what I'm trying to say here. What does this mean? All the headings on my page, please make them blue in color. Okay, what does this do for you? Imagine the lines and lines of same code you have to write again and again. Students, if you have a code that is very long, you have more chances of making mistakes, you have more chances of bugs, and you have more time spent on debugging those errors. It is not a good idea to write the same code for different elements again and again, which is why for good programming practices you define a module or you define a set of code in CSS. You define the behavior of a particular element in one place, and then within the HTML, the body part of the code, you just keep calling those behaviors again and again. You keep referencing them. Okay, so don't worry, we'll just keep doing this. We'll keep practicing this till you get it perfectly. Okay, so this is the start. Take it slow and easy. Take a deep breath. CSS syntax is all about selector, property, and value. The selector is similar to the elements you have in HTML. Okay, it could be the heading, it could be the paragraph, it could be the table, it could be the color, the background color. These are all the selectors. Okay, and the property, what property of this selector are you talking about? Okay, are you talking about color, width, height, any other thing, that any kind of behavior that applies to the selector? What kind of property are you defining for the behavior, and what is the value? Give me a value. Okay, so we can define this here. Now exactly where you're going to define this code, I'm going to explain that in the next video. You need to calm down. In the next video, we're going to talk about implementing CSS code. Okay, we're going to talk about how you can embed the CSS. You can call it from other files, or there are 2 or 3 different ways to doing it. Once you get the syntax and the implementation right, you're on your way to designing powerful styled web pages. Okay, so you can group the selectors, then you can also apply multiple properties. Okay, I'm just telling you the possibilities right now. Applying multiple properties. Okay, to apply more than one property, separate each declaration with a semicolon. Okay, H1, okay, curly bracket open, color, double colon blue. Okay, notice we always used to do in HTML also, we used to add double colon. So this is nothing new for you. Okay, you're not learning a new language, and you're just learning how to refine an old language. You're just learning how to present the old language in a better way, the previous language in a better way. Font family, Arial. Okay, this is called multiple properties within the same declaration. Okay, within the same line. Arial and comma, Helvetica, comma, sans serif. Okay, you're defining the color and the font family. Okay, and remember I said that if the browser is not able to find a particular font family, it will move on to the next and then to the next. Okay, that's how the browser would read. So you can group selectors together. I'm not going to bother color coding this. You understand what's going on here? Okay, let me show you. This is the selector going on here. Okay, this is the property, which was dark green in color. That's how we defined it. And this is the value. There you go. Okay, again, this is the property. Okay, and these are all values here. Simple, easy. All right, the same thing going on again and again. Okay, are you able to see this clearly? Okay, let's hope so. Yes, I think it should be clear now. Okay, all right, great. Then we can go for readability. I did explain that in the previous video. I said that if you want to make your code more readable and neat, you need to nest your code. Okay, remember I said hit enter, hit tab, hit enter, hit tab, so that your code is embedded and it looks very neat. Okay, you can make your CSS code more readable by spreading your style declarations across multiple lines. You can also indent your code if you like. This doesn't affect how your code is rendered, okay? It doesn't affect how you run your code in the browser. It just makes it easier for you to correct any mistakes, for you to be able to communicate with another programmer, for you to be able to understand what's going on, okay? So it's a good programming practice to indent. For example, h1, we've done this. Let's define the property h1. Tab, color, okay, blue. The selector h1, color is property and value is blue. Okay, instead of one whole continuing the same line, think about this, how attractive and how easy it is to remember and understand. Font family Arial, Helvetica, sans serif. Okay, all right, and let me just close the curly bracket. No, not yet. Okay, semicolon, font size, %150. Okay, that's another property for the selector. Never forget the semicolon, tab, and curly bracket close. This is what makes your code more readable. Okay, so this is all we need to learn about the basics of CSS syntax: selector, property, value, and how you can define selector in groups, how you can apply multiple properties to one selector, this guy here, and how you can make your code more readable. Okay, so my students, in the previous syntax video, you were learning about how to appreciate the difference between a plain HTML page and an embellished page with the aid of CSS. Okay, now as we progress more into the course, you need to apply whatever you have learned in the first few introduction courses and build upon them. Okay, up next, I'm going to teach you how to incorporate the syntax into your website, where and how you add the CSS code. How do you add this line of CSS code, and where do you add it? Okay, in the previous video, you learned that I added all the CSS code in the head section. Okay, in the body section, I did all the HTML. Okay, there are other ways of doing it. We're going to learn about that in the next video. In the next lesson, I will show you how to incorporate CSS into your HTML documents, and the name of the video is Implementing CSS. All right, then, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.